A press vest in Gaza is a death sentence, journalists who paid the ultimate price. According to the Geneva Conventions, journalists and media workers are not considered legitimate military targets. Nevertheless, at least 166 media professionals have been killed during the ongoing conflict with Israel. As a potential ceasefire agreement emerges, this report seeks to honor and recount the stories of 3 journalists who tragically lost their lives or sustained injuries in the past year. After 15 months of relentless bombardment, the conflict in Gaza has become the deadliest on record for journalists, with at least 166 Palestinian media workers killed, according to the Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ. As the world anticipates the Israeli cabinet's approval of the first phase of a ceasefire set to begin on Sunday, press freedom organizations are urgently calling for unrestricted access to Gaza for international journalists, currently barred by Israel. These organizations also demand accountability for alleged war crimes committed by Israeli forces, emphasizing the need for justice and an end to the culture of impunity. For 15 months, journalists in Gaza have endured displacement, starvation, defamation, threats, injuries, and death at the hands of the Israeli army, said Tibor Brutin, Director General of Reporters Without Borders. Despite these formidable challenges, they have persevered in their mission to inform both the local population and the international community, even as their foreign counterparts were barred from entering the territory. Below are some of their stories. Ayman al-Jedi, the 26th of December 2024. On the evening of the 25th of December, journalist Ayman al-Jedi's pregnant wife, Dania, went into labor. Ayman had been eagerly awaiting this day for months, recalled Ahmed Samud, Jedi's friend and colleague. It was what sustained him throughout the war. He was overjoyed at the thought of meeting his first child. Jedi, 28, took Dania to the Al-Order hospital in the Nuseirat refugee camp before joining his colleagues from Al-Quds Today TV network for dinner. Later, he asked his colleagues, Faisal Arbu al-Qumzan, Ibrahim Sheikh Ali, Mohammed al-Ladai, and Fardi Hasuna, if they could park their broadcast van near the hospital so he would not miss the birth of his child. At approximately 2 a.m., the press vehicle was bombed, killing all 5 journalists inside. Footage from the night shows the vehicle engulfed in flames as civil defense teams desperately attempted to extinguish the fire and recover the bodies. The press markings on the back door of the incinerated van remained visible. "We tried to do something, but it was of no use," said Jedi's brother, Omar. The flames intensified, and the van's batteries began to explode. "It became clear that my brother and his colleagues would not survive." Inside the hospital, Dania remained in labor, unaware of the tragedy unfolding outside. Hours later, after giving birth to a boy, she asked where her husband was. "Dania is devastated, and her life has been irreversibly changed," Omar said. "As we bid farewell to our beloved Ayman, we welcomed his newborn son, who will never know his father." The 5 journalists were buried together, their charred remains wrapped in white shrouds, with blue press vests draped over them in a somber tribute to their profession. In a statement to The Guardian, the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, confirmed that it had carried out the strike, describing it as a precise strike on a vehicle carrying an Islamic Jihad terrorist cell in the area of Nuseirat. The IDF claimed that the 5 men targeted were militants posing as reporters and referred to them as combat propagandists, but offered no evidence or further clarification about the incident when pressed for details. Responding to the IDF's assertions, the Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, emphasized, the deliberate targeting of journalists is a war crime. The IDF has not provided any evidence supporting its claims that these journalists were engaged in militant activity. Israel has repeatedly made similar unsubstantiated accusations without producing credible proof. Ayman al-Shanti, the 11th of December 2024. On the morning of the 11th of December, journalist Ayman al-Shanti shared what would become her final social media post, reflecting on the extraordinary fact that she and her family had survived 14 months of relentless bombardment in Gaza. "How is it possible we are alive until now?" she wrote. Tragically, just hours later, their apartment in the Sheikh Radwan neighborhood of Gaza City was struck in an air raid, killing Ayman, her husband Helmi, and their young children Almar, Omar, and Bilal. Their 13-year-old daughter, Banan, was the sole survivor, currently hospitalized with severe injuries. Shanti, 36, had worked as a broadcaster in Gaza for over a decade, contributing to several local outlets, including Al-Aqsa Radio, where she hosted Root of the Story, a popular program that explored societal issues, women's rights, and the daily hardships of life in Gaza. Iman's voice was one of change. She spoke with an authenticity that truly resonated with listeners, said her colleague and friend, Heber Hussein. She was a devoted mother and a compassionate friend. Iman dedicated her career to journalism, and like many other Palestinian journalists, paid the ultimate price. Shanti's colleagues and press freedom groups believed that she and her family were deliberately targeted because of her profession, noting that her apartment was the only one destroyed in the strike. Iman is the 27th female journalist in Gaza to be killed under such circumstances, said Kiran Nazish, director of the Coalition for Women in Journalism, CFWIJ, who recently met with officials at the International Criminal Court to advocate for an investigation into her death. Since the start of the conflict, the CFWIJ has documented 27 female journalists killed, 49 injured, 75 arrested, and 2 reported missing. Last year, Israeli bombs killed 5 women journalists in a single 24-hour period, Nazish added. Hussein, who visits Banan regularly in the hospital, shared the agony of the child suffering. The cries that echo from Banan's room are heartbreaking. All day long, she calls out for her mother, but none of us have the heart to tell her that she's gone. The Israeli authorities did not respond to multiple requests for comment regarding Shanti's death. Salma Kadamimi, the 18th of August 2024. On a warm summer evening in August 2024, photographer Salma Kadamimi made her way to Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. Thousands of residents had packed their belongings and fled the area after the Israeli military launched a new ground offensive in what had previously been designated a humanitarian zone. It was absolute chaos, people didn't know where to go, Kadamimi recalled. Kadamimi, 34, a freelance journalist who has contributed to outlets including the New York Times, Al Jazeera, and Agence France Presse, arrived in the Al Hawz district around 6:30 p.m. She was accompanied by Palestinian colleagues Ibrahim Muharreb, Ezzedine Al-Muasha, Rasha Ahmed, and Saeed Al-Lulu. All were wearing blue press vests clearly identifying them as journalists. We had only been reporting for about 30 minutes when suddenly an Israeli tank advanced toward us, said Kadamimi. Before we could react, it opened fire. Some journalists tried to run for cover while others lay down to avoid being hit. I saw Ibrahim get hit and he called out to me for help, Kadamimi continued. The tank kept firing shells and bullets as I ran toward him, and that's when I was shot in the back. Video footage shows Kadamimi being rushed into the Deir al-Balah hospital, carried out of a vehicle and placed on a stretcher as she drifted in and out of consciousness. I didn't know if I would survive, she recalled. All I kept thinking was that Ibrahim had been killed, and would left his body behind. Because of the intensity of the gunfire, the journalists were unable to retrieve Muharreb's body from the scene that night. His colleagues recovered him the next morning and buried him that same day, his press vest draped over him. Ibrahim was a brilliant journalist and a dear friend, Kadamimi said. He was just doing his job, he didn't deserve to die. What's the point of these press vests if they can't protect us? For journalists in Gaza, wearing a press vest only makes you a target. Since the attack, Kadamimi has continued working but in a limited capacity. She has been unable to obtain proper medical treatment for her injuries or medication to manage her pain. I now have breathing difficulties and can no longer run like I used to, she explained. As a result, I avoid reporting from the front lines. The Israeli authorities stated they were not aware of the incident. In the shadows of this relentless violence, it becomes painfully clear that the true face of terror is not confined to nameless militants but is worn by those who wield the power of a state, where the Israeli government's actions have tragically turned into a systematic campaign of oppression and bloodshed. The killing of innocent Palestinian children, civilians, and journalists, those brave voices risking everything to tell the truth, exposes a brutal disregard for human life and the fundamental right to free speech. This is not just a conflict, it is a profound moral crisis. Until the world holds these perpetrators accountable, justice remains elusive, and the cries of the oppressed will continue to echo unheard. The killing must stop. Humanity demands it.